What a historic time to be a football fan. I've wanted there to be college football playoffs my entire life, and here we are. For the first time ever, a 12-team playoff system has been implemented, and the winner will decide the national champion and be crowned the best of the best. Welcome to a new channel that covers football year round, NFL draft, NFL offseason, college football, and scouting. Today I'm previewing the college football playoffs. I truly believe that all of these games will be worth watching, especially if you are a diehard football fan. I'm going to quickly preview every game, talk about the players to watch for NFL draft fans, and then I'll give my top 10 prospects to watch this weekend and more. Let's go ahead and get right into it. First, let's take a step back and look at the entire bracket and talk about when these games are. We have four teams that are on byes this week and will not play until the next round. Those four schools are Oregon, Georgia, Boise State, and Arizona State. The action kicks off tonight with Indiana taking on Notre Dame, and then followed by three big-time matchups tomorrow. Early on, we have SMU taking on Penn State, followed by Clemson and Texas in the afternoon, and then Tennessee taking on Ohio State in the evening. What a weekend for football. The first game I'm going to preview is the in-state battle between Indiana and Notre Dame. This game is live tonight at 8 Eastern on ESPN and ABC. This is an in-state battle. South Bend is just 200 miles away from Bloomington, Indiana. However, these teams have only played one time in the last 65 plus years. This is a big one. Both teams are coming off one-loss seasons, but each team's loss was not the same. Indiana's only loss came against Ohio State, getting beat down 38-15 on the road. But they bounced back and decimated Purdue 66-0 the following week. The Hoosiers took care of business this season, beating bad teams by an average of 37 points a game. But they failed their only major test, which was against Ohio State. This is a good football team, well coached, and they play with an edge, but I still have questions heading into this one. Meanwhile, Notre Dame's only loss came to Northern Illinois, a major upset that disappointed the fan base. After that loss, most people thought the Fighting Irish would not even have a chance to make the playoffs. However, since that game, they've been one of the best teams in the nation. Notre Dame enters this game on a 10-game winning streak, having won each game by an average of over 30 points per game. They've also been red hot on offense, scoring over 44 points per game. This team is red hot, which is why the Fighting Irish enter this one as 7-point favorites at home. Notre Dame has been one of the best teams in the nation since that loss to NIU. If they play up to their potential, they should win this one. But don't rule out Indiana keeping it close and trying to steal a victory on the road. The winner of this one takes on Georgia next week, who will be without starting quarterback Carson Beck. Plenty of intrigue to look forward to. And then action kicks off for the second playoff game Saturday at noon Eastern on TNT and Max, featuring SMU traveling up north to play Penn State. We love Cinderella stories. They happen pretty much every year in March Madness, but college football has mostly excluded these kinds of stories over the years. The new 12-team playoffs allow teams like SMU, Boise State, and Arizona State chances to shock the world. SMU is the definition of a Cinderella story. They have never won a national championship, and they haven't even been in competition since the 1980s. Some of you will remember that this program is the one that received the death penalty from the NCAA, and they never recovered until now. As they are in the title hunt for the first time since the 80s, they enter this one as 8.5-point underdogs on the road against one of the better teams in the country. Can't ask for a better Cinderella story than that. But Penn State is a powerhouse. They came up just short against Oregon in the Big Ten championship, but they look to get back on track against SMU. This one will come down to whether or not Penn State can get back to what they've been doing all year long. Quarterback Drew Aller has been solid. and they've relied on running backs Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. Their defense is star-studded with potential top 10 pick pass rusher Abdul Carter. He is a freak and the definition of an X factor in this one. SMU's only chance here is to make some big plays on offense, and in order to do that, you have to keep Abdul Carter and the rest of Penn State's pass rushers in check. I can't wait for this one. And then next up is the Saturday afternoon matchup at 4 p.m. Eastern. It'll be on TNT and Max. It's Clemson taking on Texas. All eyes will be on the Longhorns' quarterback position, as it's rumored we could see even more Arch Manning in this one. Currently, Quinn Ewers is the starter, but Arch has been used sparingly ever since filling in for Ewers earlier in the season. Texas is undefeated against everyone this year except Georgia. They lost twice to the Bulldogs, but went 11-0 against the rest of the nation. Despite the big-time QBs, though, Texas's strength has been dominating defense. They have suffocated opponents, and I expect that to continue in this one. Texas does have left tackle Kelvin Banks Jr., a potential top 10 pick that NFL scouts will be watching closely in this one. Clemson's X factor is quarterback Cade Klubnik. Try saying that one 10 times fast, but he's been in playoff mode for months. If he can get that offense going and Ewers struggles, this could be a showdown. However, the Longhorns are double-digit favorites, and I expect them to win, but this is a game to keep an eye on. Clemson needs to force multiple turnovers and rely on Cade Klubnik to stand a chance. The winner of this game advances to face Arizona State, and from the outside looking in, Texas has one of the most favorable roads to reach the Final Four, but they need to take care of business against Clemson. And then finally, Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ABC, we have number 9 Tennessee traveling to take on number 8 Ohio State. Two big-time college football programs who have only played each other one time in school history, way back in 1996. That game featured Eddie George's Ohio State taking on Peyton Manning's Tennessee Volunteers, and now they face off again, nearly 30 years later. The winner of this one has to take on Georgia, and while Ohio State is favored, I expect a really good matchup here. Tennessee's freshman QB Nico Imolava is an up-and-coming superstar, and his play could determine the winner here. Ohio State has one of the most stacked rosters in the entire nation, and they're loaded with NFL draft quality players. That might be the reason why this is a must-win game for head coach Ryan Day. They have lost 4 straight games to Michigan, and Coach Day is just 2-7 overall when going against Michigan or in the playoffs. If they lose this game, most people expect Day to be fired. That's high expectations here. Either win the national championship or you could be fired. But that's college football for you. And Ohio State does have the talent to win the national title, and these playoffs allow them that opportunity. It starts at home against Tennessee and their freshman quarterback. Meanwhile, Ohio State has its own freshman phenom to keep an eye on. Receiver Jeremiah Smith is one of the most exciting players in the entire nation as a true freshman. That's another reason to keep an eye on this game, as both teams have exciting freshmen and a ton of NFL draft prospects. Tennessee has star pass rusher James Pierce Jr. and running back Dylan Sampson, as well as other players to keep an eye on. But Ohio State is clearly the better team on paper. They simply have more NFL level talent. They are loaded in the trenches on both lines, and they also have 2 stud running backs and talent all over this roster. This game comes down to whether or not Ohio State can play up to their talent level. The X factor is Tennessee's freshman quarterback, but the offense runs through Dylan Sampson. They will need to feed him the rock. This game should be so exciting. On paper, Ohio State should win 100 out of 100 times. But there is discourse after losing to Michigan, and this matchup is another reason why the college football playoff should be must-see TV. The winner will take on number one ranked Oregon next week. This is a historic weekend for college football, but there's also a ton of NFL draft prospects that'll be playing on primetime. I also wanted to throw in my top 10 players from next year's draft to keep an eye on this weekend. There are a ton of stars that are on bye weeks as well. Those guys will be playing next week. Guys like Ashton Jenney, Michael Williams, and Jordan Birch. But this weekend's top 10 draft prospects to watch are on the screen now, featuring Abdul Carter, Kelvin Banks Jr., James Pierce Jr., and more. There is a ton of NFL draft talent to scout this weekend. Keep an eye on these players as you watch the college football playoffs. History in the making, guys. The first time we've ever had college football playoffs, and I'll be right here to break it down on this new channel covering football year round. Thanks to everyone who watches. Hit that like button for me and stay tuned.